Holy shit, guys. I just got out of Godzilla Minus One. Just saw it in IMAX. Which I'm going to try and do more often. I don't usually go to IMAX. But for this one, I really wanted to because I was watching those trailers and I was just looking at the visuals and I'm like, this movie looks gorgeous. At least how Godzilla looks. But I also, when I actually sat down in the theater, I was kind of a little more hesitant about spending the money for IMAX because it is more expensive, right? It's not super more expensive, or at least where I live. It's like a few dollars extra, but still, I was sitting there and I was kind of like, I've seen Japanese Godzilla movies. They don't always look like really high budget or impressive, but this movie, fuck, if you can't go see this shit in IMAX, go see it. It fucking blew my goddamn mind. I love this movie. And I don't really say that lightly because here's the thing. I do love Godzilla. But there's been about 3 Godzilla movies I've seen that I love. The original Godzilla from the 50s, 1954, I believe. Shin Godzilla, and that. But there's also other Godzilla movies I've seen that I'm a fan of. I've seen a few Japanese ones. I've seen a few American ones. Well, I've seen all the American ones. There's only like 4 American ones. But you know what I mean? Like, I've seen all the Godzilla stuff. Not all the Japanese films, but I would like to one day. Maybe. Because Godzilla's got some weird shit out there. Anyways, I love Godzilla is all I'm trying to say here. And so when I actually sat down to watch this movie, I wasn't really sure what my reaction was going to be. But I really love this movie. It combines all my favorite elements of Japanese Godzilla and why I prefer Japanese Godzilla over American Godzilla, but also is wholly unique in its own thing. And that's something I really appreciate about this movie. This movie has the social commentary and political ideas and things that it's trying to say that I love in Japanese Godzilla. Thing is, in American Godzilla is just a giant monster. Well, it's not even just a giant monster. Godzilla could be a fucking tornado or a fucking earthquake, and the movies would be no different, basically, for the most part. And so, that's kind of the whole thing. Well, in these movies, it's not like that. Godzilla is a metaphor for the way the Japanese culture felt about things. They're using it to tell more politically interesting stories. So this movie is actually set directly after well, a little bit in towards the end, a little bit after World War II, like in that range. And so Japanese culture's dealt with tragedy. They've dealt with horrible things happening to them. They've lost people in terrible bombings and incidents like Hiroshima, things like that. And so, so now we have this Godzilla monster attacking, and they don't want to see any more lives lost. They want to live on and live for hope and for a future. And that's what this movie's really about. It's about living on, having hope. And I think that was just beautifully expressed from the movie. It actually made me cry, cut deep at certain moments, which I did not expect at all. You actually gave a shit about characters in this movie. I loved our one scientist guy who helped come up with the plan to sink Godzilla. I loved our one main lead who's, dealt with so much tragedy in his life and now has a strange relationship with this woman he met and his kind of daughter in his way, his newfound family. Now he learns to slowly take on the role of a father for someone who in his life who clearly just needs a father. Things like that. And in fact, what's beautiful about all this stuff is I'm telling you all this stuff is great Godzilla is barely in this movie, and you do not give a shit. You are not sitting there liking Godzilla 2014. But when's Godzilla gonna come back? When's Godzilla gonna come back? Because Godzilla's in it the right amount and actually gives you shit, things to fucking care about. The reason nobody cares when Godzilla's not on screen in Godzilla 2014, because they didn't give you jack shit to care about. I don't care about any of the characters in that movie. Except maybe Bryan Cranston's character, but he fucking dies early on. So it's just kind of like, that's the thing about it. I like that movie. I actually loved Godzilla 2014. I can't wait to talk about that in a video at some point. But what I'm just telling you right now is I'm telling you that, this is just the way things are with this, the American Godzilla movies. And this is what this movie does so much better. Godzilla also is scarier than he's ever been. I mean, he scared the fucking shit out of me in this movie. I was just like, oh, like I genuinely, so I was sitting in the handicap row, and there's these metal bars near the IMAX seats I was sitting at, and I was just holding on to them because I just genuinely felt that tense watching those scenes happen. And I also liked that the ending of this movie felt very much like the end of Jaws, but it also wasn't a bloodbath. It wasn't a horrific tragedy. It was a moment of hope. People lived. People didn't die. There was just so many great things about the way this movie is put together, and I almost can't really express what makes it great. You might just need to just sit down and watch this movie. Really, honestly, if I talk about any movie that I say is good, please go sit down and watch it. Even if it's a movie I say is bad, even, judge for yourself, I guess. But some of the movies I say are bad, I don't think there's any reason for you to just sit there and watch it. But I also would prefer people make up their own minds, I guess. But this is a wonderful movie. This is like my top 3 favorite movies of the year. Air, this movie, and Oppenheimer. Probably my 3 favorite movies of the year right now. Just, wow.